speaking of D- movies, we've got my pick this week, that being the 2016 film Manchester by the Sea, where we've got a dude, Ben Affleck's brother, whatever his name is. I already forgot. Alan? I don't know. He's some fucking sad, kind of belligerent guy that's depressed, and his brother fucking dies, and he's got to take care of his kid. So he goes down to help take care of his kid for a bit, and then nothing happens.
Yeah.
Fun fact. The director was going to cut the confession scene out of the movie until Casey Affleck convinced him to keep it in there.
Confession?
Yeah, when he confesses to the police.
Oh, God.
Thank God they did, because that was the only good fucking scene in this movie. I'm going to kick us off. I'm at a C-.
Dude!
Whoa.
I'm also at a C-.
Oh my God.
I'm at a C myself.
What the fuck? I'm at an A-.
Holy shit.
So clearly
Dan,
this movie
why'd you love
worked on you. What's really sad, and it literally fucks me up, because this is a good movie that I picked. And the reviews say that this is like some fucking peak. Like 90, 80%, you know, high scores on Letterboxd, everything. I know we're probably in the wrong. I'm gonna cut out the probably. We are wrong. I'm sure about
I disagree,
our
Jackson. We're not. We're not in the wrong here. This film sucks.
We are very against popular opinion of this movie. Tanner, I guess you're the odd man out. Please tell us why you like this movie.
Dude, I just, like, for one, I mean, not the obvious, but, like, the most immediate, front-facing, I guess I will say obvious, the thing that any dummy can notice is that the acting is fantastic, but I just found it to be a really interesting character study of, the working class man, and what, like, I think the thrust of the film is, like, he has to be, like, the steady one, the stable one, the one who's going to provide and look after people, and he has to be, calm and buttoned up in spite of all this horrible shit that happened to him. And even when he acts out, like, curses or whatever, in a very understandable way, given both what is going on in the moment and what he's gone through, he's still, like, the bad guy in that situation, even though, like, it's totally understandable. And I just found all of that really fascinating,
Are those all of your thoughts for it?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I do appreciate this movie a lot for its acting. I think the acting in this movie is very well done. The problem with me is Jackson kind of summed it up in his summary. Just that I understand this is a character piece. I just feel like it's a character piece that didn't go anywhere. I feel like, and I guess it could be its own version of it, but it just felt like the movie was trying to get him to evolve and change, and it just wasn't taking the steps to do so. And ultimately, in the end, I feel like, where you'd expect at least a little bit of character development or change, just didn't really happen. And I personally, outside of the acting, I just thought the movie was just a little boring, personally. It didn't engage me as much. And I agree with Jackson. I think it's very unfortunate. I can see the value in this movie. It just, again, like Jackson said, didn't work on me like it worked on Tanner. I think the interactions between the characters are genuine, and it's really cool to see that. It just ultimately feels like at the end of all of this relationship development and, like, interacting with people, nothing happens. Which, again, is unfortunate.
So here's where I'm going to disagree with you. I agree, it does not have, like, a traditional narrative character arc, but it goes for a more realistic character arc where, like...
Which is nothing.
He isn't
going...
You
don't change. That's what happens.
Yeah. He
isn't
going to become... Hey, can you let me finish?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. He doesn't fundamentally change as a person, and all of that horror he went through isn't going to leave him. It's still going to be there, but I don't think he's there at the end of the movie, but we see he's in the process of learning that, well, you have to go on in spite of that. Like, you have to just deal with that shit. It's part of you. It'll always be a part of you, but you need to find a way to keep going forward. In this case, the way forward is we see throughout, he's making these small changes where he is letting more people into his life, and he's getting closer to people that he had previously completely cut out of his life.
Tanner,
How?
why do you like this movie and not Midnight Cowboy?
I mean, to some extent you could say it's like I relate to this character more than the one in Midnight Cowboy, which obviously will have an impact on how much you enjoy a character study. But a big part of it is just like, I mean, I guess the biggest part is like, yeah, I just didn't like the character we were studying in Midnight Cowboy.
Fair enough, I suppose.
If I could tack on one last thing, there was a portion of the movie, they painted it as a very important picture, like, for the majority, we're talking about the kid's mom, by the way. They were just like, oh, his mom's a terrible person, she did this, and, like, we were given evidence as to, like, oh, I don't want you talking to your mom's a, and, like, it wasn't anything really directly said, but we got the idea, like, she's a terrible person, and then finally, at the end of the movie, close to the end of the movie, we get introduced to his mom, and, you know, it's kind of supposed to be putting on the, I'll call it a facade of she's a changed person, she's better. But we get, like, maybe a 5 or 10 minute interaction between him and his mom. Everything seems fine, but clearly something's off. She disappears into the kitchen. Her husband or fiance or whatever disappears. Matthew Broderick, rip his screen time. They both disappear into the kitchen, and then that interaction ends, and then they never talk about his mom again, which I guess could make sense. It's another one of those things where it's a result of, why is this in the movie if nothing resulted from it? We just know that he wanted to see his mom, now he doesn't. And then, like, now what? So that was, like, another issue I had with the movie.
That was, like, the point. He wanted to see his mom, and then now he doesn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's fair. It wasn't significant to me, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously the biggest problem with this film is that everything Tanner said as a positive is not true. None of that stuff actually happened. Like, he doesn't really open up to anyone. The most we get is he cries on, like, who is he? It's like their family friend or some shit. Like, he cries on his wife's shoulder. That's about all we get as far as him opening up in any level or really getting close to anyone.
No, not opening up emotionally. I mean, he has people physically around him more now.
And then he moves away so that he's not with them.
Yeah, and we see he is actually going back because it ends on the boat with him working on the boat with the kid.
Is that after he's already moved away?
That's what I assumed.
I definitely assumed that was just like him still being there before he starts his new job.
I imagine you would. I assume it was after, because the boat was in disrepair, and I assume they would have, like, they had like set up that whole plan about what they're gonna do after he moved out. You know, what they're gonna do with the money and the maintaining of the boat and stuff. So I assume that was in the future.
No, because they
At least
sold
that's what
the
makes sense to me.
fucking guns so that they could get a new motor and get the boat back up and running.
But that didn't happen right away, though, did it? Or am I just misremembering?
We saw him with the girl on the boat, and they were driving it after the motor was fixed.
Yeah, that was like half.
I just think it makes, assuming what I believe to be the point of the change in this character, I think it makes the most sense to assume that yes, he went back, but he does now, like, you know, visit on weekends or whatever.
But there's no reason to assume that. The film doesn't give us a reason for that.
I guess it's just on if you can actually believe of the amount of character development that happened with him. Obviously, I guess none of us except for Tanner really see that, but he sees it, so that's what his assumption is. So I think it makes sense from that perspective. I could see it either way, to be honest. Yeah, my big problem with this movie is I don't know. I just didn't get grabbed by the character study. I think the point of it is just he's supposed to be like some depressing, kind of like hard to be around guy, so I didn't really care that much. He's just like, he wasn't a likable character. I'll just go out and say it, obviously. And I just didn't really feel super invested in his plot, honestly. Like, even like all the shit with him, like getting closer with his nephew and things like that, all just felt really, I mean, maybe it's supposed to feel forced, it's supposed to be realistic, potentially. I mean, I think not even potentially, that's what the point of it is supposed to be. But I don't know, I just could not get invested in it, and I just ended up being kind of bored throughout most of it. I think, though, like I mentioned in the synopsis thing, is the only scene that really grabbed me was the stuff around his backstory of him accidentally burning down his house and killing his children, and then trying to kill himself in the police office. That scene was really fucking well done. That got me. Like, genuinely, I didn't give a fuck about anything in that movie, and that scene almost like made me want to like shed a tear because of how fucking real it was. And it just, nothing ever matched that level for me in the movie, to be honest. So I kind of just felt pretty hollow throughout most of it. And as it dragged on because, unfortunately, with a boring movie, the longer it goes, this is a pretty long movie, it does just like get worse over time in that regard. And like the interaction with his ex felt strange. It feels like there isn't a ton of development like with the kid, to be completely honest. Like the kid coming around to him in the end seems unnatural to me and a little fast. Like he had one interaction with his mom and you're like, maybe this guy's all right after all because these guys are fucking whack jobs, and then they just like cut it. It feels like they wanted to do more with this storyline, but they just couldn't fit it in. But maybe that's also, I'm just getting that presumption because I didn't fully mesh with the message and the character arc. But yeah, I just felt pretty bored throughout most of it, to be honest.
Well, the problem is that during the early parts of the film, I was feeling very invested. I was into what this film was setting up. The issue is that I just felt incredibly deflated by the end of it because nothing ends up happening with anything that they try and set up. It's like, you know, the big things, well, I gotta take care of you, but I can't do that because, like, you know, I got this shitty job somewhere else that I gotta go do instead. And so I gotta try and find someone else to take care of you instead. And sure enough, yeah, he does. He never comes around to living in this town, which obviously he has good reason not to want to live here. Like, you know, everyone fucking sees him as the guy who fucking killed his whole family. But it's like, at the same time, fucking, it never progresses beyond that at any point. It's always just, well, yeah, I'm not gonna be here. Hey kid, by the way, I'm not sticking around at the end, so that's just where we're ending things.
That's kind of what.
I'll pass it to you after. I've got a metaphor, I guess. So there's a lot of people that are like, I really want a super hyper-realistic video game, you know, something that lets you meticulously do all sorts of things that would happen in real life, you know, like a simulator, but like to a super high degree. And this movie kind of feels like that parallel, where like as it has the same downsides and upsides as it, where this feels like a very real movie. It feels very realistic. The way they portray conversations are all very stilted and awkward at times. Which, you know, it feels very immersive if you're into the movie. It didn't really work for me. That's just how it is. But it has the same flaws as a realistic game, where, you know, we're watching a piece of media. We're consuming a piece of media. And it's supposed to be trimmed down. It's supposed to be showing the good aspects of it and really hyper-focused on its message. And it doesn't feel like it is that. There's a lot of the mundanity of his life, which obviously is supposed to get you more invested with his character. But it's like, you know, when you're playing Minecraft, you don't want to have to fucking do 50 strokes into a tree and then set up a fucking way for it to fall down safely. You don't want to worry about that shit. And it's the same thing for him having a fucking awkward, stilted conversation with his nephew's friend's mom while they try to bang. Who cares about that? You know, it's completely unnecessary to the plot of the film, but it's just some shit that's happening to give more nuance to the situation, and it's just boring, and it drags it down for me because of that.
Yeah, I was actually about to say something along similar lines, where this movie is trying very hard to be realistic, and I'm not going to fault it for that, but when it just results in just dead-end plot lines, like I've explained in a couple different times, where the interaction with his mother, the interaction with just the kid in general, his friends, and just ultimately and, you know, I guess this could be a intention of the movie, but realistically, this guy is battling his brother's last wishes all the way to the end of the movie, and then still ends up not letting them go through. Like, his brother wanted him to take care of his son. He's not going to do it. His brother wanted him to have the house until the kid was old enough. He's not going to do it. He's going to sell out the house. There's just so much that they want this character to do, and yes, it is, I guess, based in reality. It's a grounded movie, and maybe we're just not used to this kind of realism or something. I don't know what to call it. But it doesn't make for a very entertaining movie when you pan it out like this. Like I said, I see the value in the movie, I just don't think it was structured very well. And I don't think, like Jackson was saying, I don't think we were highlighting the significant portions of the movie.
Yes.
I think maybe...
Dylan hit the nail on the head here. It wasn't interesting is the biggest problem with it. I know what it's trying to do here, it just doesn't do it in a way that makes for a good story.
Yeah, all I was gonna say is maybe if we trimmed out some of the fluff and like after, because when we were on the boat with them at the end and it faded to black, I just thought it was gonna I thought that was a weird transition to the next scene, and then the credits started rolling, and I remember thinking, what the fuck, that was it? Because I expected some kind of character transition. So maybe if they were worried about runtime, cut out some of the fluff of just the mundane everyday stuff, not a ton of it, but then maybe add, like, this is what happens in the future kind of thing. Not like several months later, just like these are like things. That way we get a glimpse into what could happen or what's going to happen. It kind of just ends with him being on the boat. They're selling the house. They're renting out the boat. He's moving out and the kid's going with some random family that we don't really know. And then we're just expected to be okay with that. So the ending especially did not work on me. But yeah.
One thing I am going to disagree with someone here on is I'm actually going to disagree with Jackson when he said this guy wasn't a likable character. I don't know if I would go so far as to say likable, but I think he is understandable and relatable to such an extent that I'm creeping into likability. I kind of see it as he's like the ultimate straight man in this world. Like, he's very pragmatic and focused, and he's doing things correctly, but the world is just kind of conspiring against him to an extent. One thing we see is there's this, it's not a running gag because I wouldn't say it's expressly played for humor. It's a motif of this film that we just see people fumble with simple tasks, like the people putting the cart back into the ambulance, the kid opening up the freezer door. We see it several times throughout the movie where, like, the people around this guy, they like bumble, you know, they do something stupid when attempting to do something simple, and it makes him seem like, and sometimes he reacts to that stuff in an outsized way, and to people who don't know him, they're like, this guy's fucking crazy, he's getting mad over this small, stupid thing. But for him, it's like, it's the accumulation of, you know, his fucking family burning to death, and then also just these small irritants that he's seeing every single day. And then, oh man, what is it? At some point towards the end, we see him himself fumble with something, and to me that was like a marker of character progression, where it's like, oh, he's starting to let his guard down, and now he's actually becoming more like everyone else. Like he's I mean, yeah, he's letting his guard down. I suppose that was the apropos way to put it. If I'll throw in a negative here, I thought the music was really generic, and I don't want like big sweeping scores on this. I do want something underplayed like they mostly use, but I just wish it stood out a bit more and was a bit more effective at highlighting the moments in this film.
Yeah, if they just like licensed some Coldplay, that would have done. Generally,
exactly.
I do actually agree with Tanner on like our main character at the very least here. I did find him to be, you know, a pretty solid character, all things considered. I don't think a main character necessarily has to be like likable in a traditional sense. You just kind of have to kind of want to root for them is like kind of a big thing here. And I was rooting for him the whole time. I enjoyed him, seeing him on screen, his funny little antics. I just wish that it went somewhere. The big issue, which is the reoccurring problem we keep addressing. It doesn't go anywhere.
It went to Manchester Bay.
Whoa.
Honestly, I'm shocked I didn't like this movie. Nico can maybe pinned it on me, but this seems like the type of movie I would probably enjoy, and it just I didn't work on me. Oh well.
Dude, did you get stat checked?
I'm gonna say no.
I'm also gonna say no.
I know what the movie is going for. I just didn't like it. I'm sticking out my rank.
Yeah, I think I'll be sticking at my C here too.
I will stick with my A minus.
Good on you, buddy. You saw something everybody else did except us.
Funnily enough, an A minus and 3 C somethings is not enough to pull it out of C. It is still a C plus overall.